Let's call the meeting to order with the moment of silence. Let us stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, would you read the rules for the report?
Yes, sir. Individuals wishing to speak on agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Sign-up and oath cards are available on the table. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issue, and citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all items. Citizens wishing to speak on the consent agenda must submit a sign-up card identifying the items of interest. Each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes to speak on the entire consent agenda. All sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to City Council shall be placed in the box on the table.
Thank you, City Clerk. I need a motion to approve the minutes dated March 12th, March 26th. I need a motion to approve the minutes for those 2 days.
Move to approve the minutes of March 12th, March 26th, 5:30 and 6:30.
Second.
Motion has been made and second. Call for questions. Hearing none. Call, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. City Manager, special requests and presentation.
Sir?
Oh, we had special requests.
Oh, yes, sir. Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. We are on item 5A, which is 2 proclamations. And with your permission, sir, I'll read the proclamations, and then if you could present them to Mr. Parrish after the proclamations are read.
All right.
Okay. Official proclamation of the City of Titusville, Florida, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution for combating climate change by reducing erosion of precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating temperature, cleaning of the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees in the city increases property values, enhances the economic viability of businesses, areas, and beautification of the community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Therefore, I, Daniel E. Diesel, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Titusville, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2024 as National Arbor Day. In the city of Titusville, I urge all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to support urban forestry program. Further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of this and the future generations. Signed, Daniel E. Diesel, Mayor. Second proclamation tonight is for Earth Day. Official proclamation of the City of Titusville. Whereas Earth Day was first celebrated on April 22nd, 1970, and whereas millions of Americans of all ages, walks of life, political affiliations gathered in cities across the nation for the first Earth Day to demand basic protections for the planet and to commit to leaving behind a healthier world for the next generation. And whereas Earth Day united people who had been fighting against oil spills, polluting factories, power plants, raw sewage, toxic dumps, and loss of wildlife, and other environmental ills. And whereas the work continues today, and whereas Earth Day is an annual event created to promote environmental citizenship and action year-round, And whereas Earth Day reminds us that we must not pass a world beyond repair to the next generation. Now, therefore, I, Daniel E. Diesel, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Titusville, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2024 as Earth Day. And in the city of Titusville, I urge all citizens to support the efforts to protect our environment and the future generations so that they all may inherit a livable, sustainable, and ecologically rich planet Earth. Signed, Daniel E. Diesel, Mayor. Mayor, if I could have you present the 2 plaques to Mr. Parrish.
Yes. Are we going to do this for military style? Please stand in. Your right hand.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All right,
it.
yeah.
You hold it with this hand, and we shake hands with this hand.
Thank you.
Take the cover off. There we go. All right. Thank you. And then you are accepting these for the group.
So our sustainability planner, Abigail Trout, was not able to be here today to accept these, but she was supposed to do that on behalf of the city. These 2 events will happen on the 22nd and 26th later this month, and we want to invite everyone in the public for this event.
Thank you for all the hard work in this family.
Righty.
Line item 6.
On to item 6, which is boards and commissions. Agenda item 6A is the Code Enforcement Special Magistrate. The Code Enforcement Special Magistrate's semi-annual report is included in your packet. No actions required. Item 6B, the Titusville Housing Authority's semi-annual written report is included in your agenda packet. No action is required. And Mayor, we are now on to petitions and requests.
Petition and request, we have any petition and request? Please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Rhonda Stover,
Address?
2485 Heritage Drive, Titusville, Florida, 32780.
Thank you.
Titusville City Council members and Mayor Dan Diesel. My name is Rhonda Stover, and with me are residents of Heritage Drive Southwest to discuss the willful neglect of the canal between our properties and Wendover Oak Apartments, many of whom have contacted Public Works, among other entities, for resolution, all of which, including my requests, have been blatantly ignored. This canal is under the direct jurisdiction of the city of Titusville, proven in the packets you have all received. I personally have been attempting to resolve this issue for over 20 years, which is unacceptable and abhorrent behavior on the part of the city of Titusville, as well as the risk management and public work departments. In addition, I have requested a meeting with City Manager Scott Larice and Public Works Director Kevin Cook, which have also been ignored. While we are pleased that after 3 years of this instance to see Public Works finally take our complaints seriously, as you can see by the pictures attached from Friday, April 5th, the equipment had the ground collapse underneath, providing further proof that this area has been mismanaged and neglected for far too long. The retention wall on the south side of our properties has been damaged due to this negligence and dereliction of duty, and we have suffered great harm as a direct result. The pictures in your packets are proof of our claims and has absolutely nothing to do with the easements, as Mark Langdorf of Risk Management suggests, whose letter is also in your packet dated October 18th, 2023. Mr. Langdorf's letter was meaningless as it does not address the issue at hand and instead attempts to pass the blame to the residents. You'll also find in your packets my original email dated July 16, 2021, requesting assistance, none of which I should have to do. This assistance alone has been ongoing for almost 3 years while our property suffered further damage due to this negligence. This can only be described as willful negligence or incompetence, neither of which are acceptable and will no longer be tolerated. The City of Titusville regularly provides maintenance to the south side of this canal. We deserve nothing less than equal treatment. I've been informed by Mr. Langdorf that the equipment was in the shop. The equipment has not been in repair for 3 years. We will no longer accept these excuses and political tap dancing by the City of Titusville authorities to insult our intelligence and kick the proverbial can down the road. That this tasking on a regular basis is difficult, time-consuming, or costly is not our concern. The facts are that this canal is under the full jurisdiction of the City of Titusville, and therefore your responsibility to fulfill your obligations and responsibility as Titusville officials. The St. John's Water Management and EPA have no jurisdiction, as this property was acquired and annexed long before either were developed as institutions, and through my research, Brevard County also has no jurisdiction as well. Our question to you is, would you allow this and accept this treatment were this your property? How is it acceptable when you know well the problem needs to be addressed and a permanent resolution presented, codified, and put in place? Many of the residents of Heritage Drive Southwest are retired, some of who are U.S. military veterans. Please stand and be recognized, veterans.
How much more time do you need to do this?
Just a couple more seconds.
Right.
Please stand and be recognized, our veterans of Heritage Drive. These are the people that are affected by this. They are on limited incomes. How many times do you expect any of us to repair our properties while your negligence causes further damage, only to have to repeat the process every few years? We do expect an immediate resolution, and we expect the city to accept responsibility and develop a plan that includes a permanent solution, to include a regular maintenance schedule. Simply dredging the canal is not acceptable and does not address the damages we have suffered as a direct result. We will not pass this disaster on to our children to deal with after we and you are long gone. While you're inviting new businesses or residents to Titusville, you are neglecting the residents that put you in these positions of power to serve this municipality. This is our home, our property, and it has been allowed to erode because of lack of attention on the part of the City of Titusville. All we expect is the city fulfills their obligation to the residents of this community and provide a permanent solution to this problem. Thank you.
Thank you for your concern, your situation. With first, I would ask if the staff would give us some feedback on this.
Yeah, stormwater has it scheduled to be dredged. Texas Sandy a little while ago, they're expected to have that done this week. So the Great Hall has been down for a little bit of time. Our large machine we used to dredge, but they are scheduled to be dredging in that canal on the south side of the canal beginning this week.
Okay, so we are addressing the issue presently.
We're addressing the maintenance of the canal, yes.
All right. Any of the,
Kevin,
Almost lost that crane and that dredge in the ditch.
We're aware they have to restore the bank on the south side. This ditch has very limited access at all, so we have to access through the apartment complex to get to it. We can only put our grade on the south side of the ditch and only work it from one side. So it's a very tight, limited access for our equipment, but they have committed to getting out there this week.
thank you, Kevin, and we'll wait to give us some feedback at our next meeting on how we've progressed on this and getting it taken care of. Thank you so very much. Members,
might be helpful if Mr. Cook is able to meet with Ms. Dover. Maybe some discussion might help.
I've reached out to Mr. Cook several times. He's ignoring me. I have emails.
okay.
Okay.
Let us look at that. Kevin is, and my status on it is that he has assured us at this particular point at this meeting it's being addressed. And if it is not, we will look at it. And I'm asking for an update on that at our next council meeting.
Sir, if I may.
You may come up and speak, yes.
Yes, sir.
Your name and address.
My name is Luke Perret. Address is 2465 Heritage Drive, Titusville, Florida. Moved here, I'm an immigrant from France. Moved here to Titusville with my mother in 2005. Have been here since. I've recognized some council member, Mr. Cole, used to work at Lucida for you, and the members. Officer Jackson, one of my police officers at Jackson Middle School. I bought this house as my first home in 2020 during the pandemic, right before. Love Titusville community, don't want to move away from it because my My roots are here. My kid is here. My wife is here. She's a nurse. They have attempted to dredge the canal before. In fact, they did it in 2020, if my memory recollects. However, part of that issue that we're having is trees are growing through that seawall. If that seawall fails, the property slides back. Them dredging the bottom of the canal for debris is not the issue. The issue is all the trees that are growing from the canal that they are not taking care of, and in turn damaging our property due to that negligence of not clearing the canal as is expected. I'm not here to cause a scene. I'm just here to inform you of my dilemma as a citizen of this city. I've been here for a while. Again, I love this community and I do not want to move from it. In fact, I tried to join the police department here many years ago. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I can't do it. However, my plan is to be here for a while. My plan is to hand off this house to my son when he's of age and I'm ready to move out to a smaller place to give him an opportunity to thrive in an economy that hopefully will be better than it is today. However, I'm asking for the help of the city as a 30-year-old man who just bought a house 3 years ago to help us with this dilemma and these issues that we are all facing on that street. You know, I don't want to lose my house due to a landslide because the wall failed, because of trees growing through the wall. I've already had to put 800 pounds of concrete to try and reinforce that wall during a major storm because there's cracks in the wall due to trees growing through it and sand is just sipping through the back of it.
Okay.
That is my thoughts on this matter, and I appreciate you for your time, sir.
If I can ask a question.
Excuse me, Member Stokel?
Yeah, so
Oh, sorry.
I just had a quick question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
is the biggest issue that when they do come out and dredge it, because it sounds like they did come out in 2020, are you saying that it needs to be like dredged more often, or what's the issue that's
The
happening?
issue is there's trees that have been there for God knows how long, and they're growing from the canal through the seawall and causing damage to the seawall, which in turn allows the dirt that's holding our properties up, and I'm sorry, I'm holding up your time, sir. That's holding our properties up, because that's what that seawall is essentially doing.
Okay.
If that seawall fails, that property slides. It's just laws of physics. I'm an
Did the-
educated man, but
Did the dredging in 2020 help?
not at all. All they did was
No?
remove trash and debris from the bottom of the canal, in the middle of the canal, not closer to the end of the
So it's still
edges.
sinking?
Correct. The trees are still growing through our property and our seawalls coming from the canal that should have been cleared out.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Okay, Member Nelson? Are you still on?
I think I understand it. So canals like this, right?
correct.
And the trees are growing.
The trees are growing from the bottom of the canal through our seawall.
Okay, so those trees are actually in the canal.
Correct. The roots are in the canal. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Excuse me. Can I be recognized? Yes. Can I go up? My name is Christine Simmons. My address is 2445 Heritage Drive. I've had this problem. I bought my house in 2016. My whole fence is bent in because of the pressure from the trees into the wall, bending my fence. My husband has cleared that out. He's a disabled vet. He has a bad back. Every day he goes out there to try to clean everything up. It's in vain. You know, I'm just so frustrated that all this stuff that keeps growing up into the wall, and I'm losing dirt. I'm so afraid that it's gonna sink right out. And then who's gonna replace it? So I think that the city of Titusville needs to do a better job. All they do is they're concerned about the south side. Nothing's done on our side, our property. Everything is getting ruined. I had to take down part of my fence so I can clear the tree that was growing through my fence. So it's all coming up, it's disgusting, and I just want somebody to do something about it. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. My question to staff is, who does the property belong to? Is it the residents, what is the city's responsibility and what is the residents' responsibility in this situation?
We're responsible for the canal. The seawalls are not publicly owned.
We are responsible for the canal.
Yep.
The seawall belongs.
They were installed to build the houses. They are not publicly owned.
So if the trees are growing in the canal and impacting the seawall, it would be our responsibility, correct?
We can take a look at that circumstance. The canal, when it gets dredged, we dredge as far as we can reach with the equipment. If
Okay.
you recall, this was a canal that a few years ago after we dredged it, there were complaints that we dredged it from the neighbors there as well, a different group of neighbors, which is why it didn't get dredged for a period of time, was they asked us to not maintain it beyond the way we used to. So if you recall, this was a canal that was set for a private group was going to do a study in it about not mowing it, not doing things of that nature. So there's one part of the delay is that the resident request was that it not be dredged for a while.
Okay.
So it is now getting dredged again to remove debris and growth within the canal. The goal is to keep the water flowing in the canal. So,
Okay.
but it is
So-
difficult when we can only reach from one side, the south side. Our equipment can't work on the north side. It doesn't have room for it.
So the bottom line is we need to figure out who is responsible if the trees are actually in the canal.
We'll have our staff take a look at the trees that are growing, and we can remove the trees that we can get to by hand that are within our area of the canal.
Okay. That works.
How big are the trees? Are they large trees or small trees?
Packet that shows you that it's encompassing my property, coming through the wall
Going through the wall, through the fences.
from that canal that
Breaking.
city owns.
Some of these trees have been there for years, Mr. Herman. And I can honestly, I've never lied to you in your face ever again, or never. They've been here for years.
Okay.
And quite frankly, our chain link fence, that's my chain link.
You need to come up. But we have enough information, and what I would suggest is that when staff finish doing what they are going to do to clean the canal and give us a complete evaluation of the situation so that we can make a decision on who is legally responsible for the property where the trees are located. And I know, and I think I heard, Kevin, we have some access restrictions on getting to those trees. Is that correct? Is that,
Yeah, to get to those trees.
if we had to take them out?
On the north
if
side of the
trees
canal, we'd
had-
be doing them by hand from the
Okay.
south side.
Okay.
So,
All right. So what we're looking for now, I think, from my evaluation of the situation is that we'll wait on what we're doing now, cleaning out all of the debris from the bottom of the creek or and when we get that, please give us an evaluation on what it has to be done to remedy the problem long-term, so that we can make a decision on where the responsibility of the long-term solution will lie. All right. All right. Any more petition and request?
Stan Johnston, I'll briefly want to speak about this because I live near there and I know I'm familiar somewhat with what's going on. But I want to share with you, and I'm sympathetic with Mr. Cook because he was given this position a few years ago and his predecessor was doing nothing about it. And so we've got some of these problems because they were put upon him. So I'm sympathetic with what the city is, but still, again, I'm understanding is that they need to be served. And I think Mr. Cook will do what he can to help them out. Now I want to go on to what I'm speaking to you is that is that you've already received this from the CRA meeting, and so I'm going to speak about an email that I sent you on March the 5th. I sent to you guys, and the letter has to do with an admission of dishonesty by the city of Titusville. It's pretty serious, admission of dishonesty. So what it was is that Mr. Stauffer sent this letter of mine to FDEP. And this letter has on it, it complains about a sewage spill in 9 city streets, and which I put red warning notices on the city hall and police station, and a dozen churches and Vice Mayor's church and so forth. I put notices on it. And also I have in this, I have attachments of photos of the sewage coming out of manholes, sewage in the streets, sewage ponded at 1180 Greenwood Street. So with this letter he sent to FDEP, Mr. Stauffer has a letter saying, here's what his letter says. His letter says it never happened. I call this an admission of dishonesty. I mean, we're talking about videos and photos of sewage coming out of manholes into yards, streets, 9 city streets, going into the river. And he says it never happened, although he gave proof that it did happen. So I'm asking you to look into this. I've asked you before, and I've asked you also about this for four other council meetings that I have on this sheet that I gave you last time that Wanda has a copy of. So I'm asking you to look into that matter and see what you can do to get it straightened out and answer your phone, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Joe. All right.
Well, Mr. Johnston, I'm going to ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to ask you one favor.
Yes, sir.
Don't, from this point on, you have mentioned this to us twice already tonight.
Four times.
Okay.
This will be 4 times.
Tonight. And
Okay,
would you
go ahead.
not do that on this particular subject for the rest of when you come up again, please?
Oh, no, I will bring it up. But I'm sorry,
asking
because
you,
it's
would you
serious. It's a
please
serious
don't do
matter. You know, I was arrested on this matter. I was arrested and incarcerated for this thing.
Thank you. Your time is
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Good job.
City Manager? Line item 8.
Okay, we're on consent agenda items. Council, do you have any questions for staff on any of the consent agenda items A through G?
Yes. Excuse me just a second. I would like a briefing on this. I understand it, but just an open briefing on line item D.
Okay, so it's a task order for engineering services for the consumptive use for permit area 2 and 3. So Mr. Cook will be able to provide you more details on that.
All right.
Yeah, so this is a task order. Take a look at our existing cups that are scheduled to expire in 2030 for area well fields 2 and 3, which are the 2 city-owned well fields that supply the city. We're looking at the ability to expand the withdrawal from those 2 well fields to raise our overall cup that's currently set at 6.01 million gallons per day. We'd like to have our consultant take a look at and speak to St. John's about the possibility of raising the 2 and 3 well fields above their current ability. So this is the work order. They're going to go through, model the groundwater, take a look at solid intrusion, develop a water conservation plan. Rehydration plan may be needed for area 3. It was the last time that this was looked at, with the goal being to garner some expansion of the area 2 or 3 well field or both.
Thank you. City Manager?
Council, are there any consent agenda items A through G that you'd like to pull for additional discussion? City Clerk, are there any cards for consent?
Yes, sir, 1 card.
Mayor, with your permission, I'd like to read the titles for the record.
Yes.
Consent agenda item 8A, approve the award of the contract for the Morning Dove filter replacement. Consent agenda item 8B, approve amendment number 3 to the Indian River Force Main replacement design. Consent agenda item 8C, approve change order 2 for the Osprey dewatering and hauling. Consent agenda item 8D, approve task order for engineering services for consumptive use permit, CUP, for areas 2 and 3 expansion. Consent agenda item 8E, approve the Florida and Light FPL lighting conversion agreement. Consent agenda item 8F, approve the purchase of a 6-foot trailer-mounted well point dewatering piston pump for Public Works. Consent agenda item 8G, accept the FY 2023 City of Titusville Community Redevelopment Agency Annual Report.
Thank you. Members, anything on any cards?
Yes, sir. Stan Johnston, and he would like to speak on A, B, C, D, F, and G.
Stan Johnson, registered professional engineer, and when I was working for the city, before I retired from the city with my pension, I was also a land surveyor. So I've lived here over 50 years, and I'm a registered professional engineer for over 47 years. I'm addressing these consent agenda items because I see a problem. I see a problem, not what Mr. Cook has been doing and so forth, but before him, and that is that we had something serious happen here. And I've told you I've said a number of times, I had signs up saying the city of Titusville is the only city in the world that deliberately sprays women, children, babies with sewage. And they did it for, I don't know, 3 months? That's December through February from 2020 to February of 18th of 21 is when they finally constructed a containment berm in Sandpoint Park. As a professional engineer, I'm licensed to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. And so I go to the Titusville Police Department, Water Resources Department, the City Council, and FDEP, and I complain to them about the hazards that we're having here in Titusville of spraying women, children, and babies with sewage and food in the park. And yet the city continued it for months. Mrs. Nelson said that she got somebody from FDEP, unknown person, to say that it's okay to do that. I don't think that that person really knew that the proximity of vehicles and so forth that were being sprayed when the wind blew and how high the spray was. People complained about it over at even the Harbor Point condominiums. And you've done nothing about it still. So I have no reliance at all that the next time we have a sewage spill, in fact, we had one and it left it on still. It wasn't when Mr. Cook was in charge. But I have no, so when we have our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren come to the city or in the park, how are they going to be protected from these polluted ponds and polluted Indian River when we don't have signs up and we don't turn the fountains off and we spray? Only city in the world that I know of that sprays women, children, and babies with sewage. I would like you to give it some consideration. It's within my jurisdiction and your jurisdiction, as my license is. Thank you.
Any more cards? No more cards? I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda items A through E?
G.
G.
G. I've had the motion. Call for a second.
Second.
Has been seconded. Call for question. Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or do we need a roll call? Roll call.
Yeah.
Roll call. Member Cole?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Thank you so very much. Line item 9,
On to ordinances, second readings, public hearings, and related actions. The city attorney will review the quasi judicial rules and procedures for this one.
Anyone wishing to speak on a quasi-judicial item must first sign a public hearing agenda card and sign the oath contained thereon. These cards are located on the table at the entrance to the chamber. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents that you desire for the city council to consider, they must be submitted into evidence and will be retained by the city. Please submit such exhibits to the city clerk. City clerk, of all persons wishing to speak for the city council, sign an oath card swearing to tell the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth. Yes, sir. For staff and applicant and all witnesses that intend to speak, it's important to sign an oath card swearing to tell the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth. And these cards should be submitted to the clerk at this time. City clerk, have all agenda items been properly advertised? In the event that a council member has received an ex parte communication, either verbal or written, outside this hearing, the council member shall disclose the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place and the subject of the communication, including all opinions or facts discussed. Any written communications must be disclosed and made a part of the record. Also, in the event that a member has conducted an investigation or site visit or received any expert opinions regarding the quasi-judicial item, said visit or opinion shall be disclosed.
Members?
I spoke to Kim Brzezinska about it several months ago when it first came before us.
About which item?
We're talking about the M1 versus a different zoning category.
I see none other.
Which agenda item?
9A.
The CUP for 9A? Okay, and what was the
She was just
discussion about?
She was just saying she was coming before us. Sorry. She was just saying she was coming before us. It wasn't an in-depth discussion, and no, I didn't form any opinions.
Thank you.
The applicant, this is item 9A, conditional use permit, CUP, application number 1-2024, TRG self-storage. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow a mini warehouse use at a vacant property of 8.93 acres located west of South Street, State Road 405, and south of Satterfield Road. The conceptual site plan illustrates a 3-story mini warehouse building adjacent to South Street, 53 covered outdoor storage spaces, 70 uncovered storage spaces and associated parking, stormwater facilities, and wetland preservation areas. On 28 November 2023, the property was annexed into the city and assigned industrial future land use designation and light industrial warehouse M1 zoning district with the approval of ordinance number 52-2023, 53-2023, and 54-2023. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval without the staff's recommended conditions of restricted hours. The approval was 6-1 with one member in opposition because he felt the area should be saved for heavier industrial uses. Staff recommends the approval of conditional use application number 1-2024 to allow a mini warehouse use in the light industrial services warehouse M1 zoning district for a property located west of South Street and south of Satterfield Road with conditions. And Mr. Eddie Galindo is here to give you a presentation and answer questions that you may have.
Good evening, council members. Thank you. The only thing I wanted to add to the introduction that was already provided was on page 196 of your agenda packet is the discussion related to the hours of operations. And so council has the ability to limit the hours of operations through the conditional use permit process if you feel that it's necessary for health, safety, and welfare of our residents. So in order to give you some feedback, we had looked at the nearby mini warehouse facility across South Street, and their hours of operations are 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And so we recommended a condition that would allow for similar hours of operations as the nearby mini warehouse facility. Before this meeting, I took a look at the conditional use permit that was approved for that facility across the street, not the subject property for tonight's application. And their conditional use permit does not require hours of operations, does not limit their hours of operations. So it could be the case that if you were to approve it with this condition, then the nearby facility could change their hours of operations. They're not limited to remaining at between 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. If council decides not to include that condition, the staff would request that you would at least consider a condition of approval that when the application goes forward to site plan, that if they do want to remain open 24 hours, that they provide a lighting plan so we can make sure that there's lighting in the evening hours. Thank you.
Members?
Well, I personally like the idea of limiting the hours, my personal opinion on it. And even if it's open till 10 at night, they still will need lighting, so, but that's my position on that.
Member Stokel?
Do you know if we have any facilities, storage facilities right now that are open 24 hours within our city?
I believe there are, but I don't have any data to support that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit torn on this one because I feel like I see both sides. Like if I had a storage facility, I would want to be able to go anytime. But if I need to get something, okay? but I also I can see the concern with the safety component. So yeah, I'm a little bit conflicted on this one.
Member Nelson?
I think I agree with Member Cole. I think I like having those hours. Safety-wise, I agree with Member Stokel that it would be safer to have it 6 to 10. So that's my thought.
Well, I agree with the staff. If we go to this particular process and agree with them to stay open, lighting would be a requirement. I understand that we as a city is growing. The number, we are anticipating a larger population, and I know as the city grows, people are working multiple hours, 24 hours a day, a lot of times that they can't get to the storage area between the standard work hours from 6 in the morning and to 6 o'clock at night or 10. And I think that that's one of the things that it's going to have to, we're going to have to begin to live with. But as time changes, the lighting is going to, a safety factor is going to have to be incorporated into that process. And if they want to, my thoughts is the 24 hours is fine because I think that that's the movement toward the future. But we also have to take into consideration safety. And it would also help to, we haven't got a big, got the dollars and cents from the state to do work on 405 to widen it because of the traffic, and it may give us an opportunity to continue to help keep the traffic under control so people won't be rushing and so forth to get stuff out of storage or to put stuff into storage. That's my thoughts on it as well. So, being that we have the report from staff that there is no limitation on the other storage places along, or some of the storage places that are there. And again, if it proves to be a positive thing for the requesters of this particular CUP, we may have, once we accept or when we allow them to do it, the other entities may want to do it as well. So with that being said, I would like to hear from, if we have the requester present, and ask him a question of why exactly are you requesting the the later hours.
Hey, good evening. Garrett George with CESO. I'm the engineer of record, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I do want to add that when we went before P&Z, one of the commissioners, and I'm blanking on his name, pulled up their website, and they are actually open 24 hours across the street. The hours are for their office hours. Those are staffed hours. So we would not be staffed 24/7. We do have gated access to the property, so it's not like you can just walk in. And we have provided a photometric plan with our site plan as well. That's currently under review. So that is taken into consideration for the safety factor, obviously. So.
Okay. So that you, historically, I'm sure this is not the first, are you finding that our limitations hurt your business in any form or way?
We do, and that was actually a topic of discussion there before P&Z, that, several of the commission members go at odd hours. I mean, we're here till, 10 o'clock tonight? What if you need to run home? Well, hopefully not tonight. I was here for the Live Free Florida night. That was, I don't want to reenact that. But I mean, people get stuck at work, people get caught, hours limit people, especially like for fishing. I was born and raised here in Brevard County. I keep my boat in storage. I don't want to wait till 6 a.m. when somebody opens the gate for me to go get my boat, right? It's, people are there early to go pick up their boat and get the water. This just is part of the community. So and if you're at your storage unit and you're packing stuff in and all of a sudden the gate closes and it's like, oh crap, I'm gonna run, sorry. So it does hinder the business, and it's not a safety factor. The ordinance speaks about safety and well-being of the neighbors. The neighbor to the south is the Brevard County dump facility, and to the north is a manufacturing facility. So people going into their self-storage ain't gonna bother the neighbors, right? We're not backed up to a neighborhood that people are gonna be picking up their RV at 10 a.m. and, annoying somebody trying to put their kid to sleep, right? It's, so, yes.
Please.
Yeah. Thank you all. Chad Clevenger with TRG. Just echo his statements there. Obviously, the manned office hours, we're fine with a time frame that you throw out there, but just being able to go and access the stuff that you own at any time. Again, gated, camera. To Garrett's point, fishing. This is a big market for that out here. You got people that want to get their boats before everyone else gets to the ramp. And the traffic in and out of a storage unit is quite minimal. We've added some extra parking spaces and some other things there to allow for some more room to be had once you get in there. But I mean, your in and out of a storage is pretty minimal. You're not going to have a ton of people doing it, but you're going to have the people that want to do it and to be able to get in there at an odd hour, like you said, when you're working a midnight shift or something, and you got to pick something up on your ride home.
And your thoughts on the, if this is approved, your thoughts on the extra lighting?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely take a look at it. To Garrett's point, we've got a photometric plan. So we obviously don't want to light this thing up so it's bright as could be. At 12 p.m. at night or midnight. But we would do what is engineered guidelines to have it lit and received well in that way.
Okay. I see no more questions. All righty. Thank you so very much.
Appreciate your time.
All right. With that being discussed, any more cards? All right. That being discussed and we've received the feedback. Any more questions for staff? No more questions for staff? No more. I have some. Oh, that's you waiting.
I'm waiting, Joe.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
I need a motion.
Move to approve conditional use permit application number 1-2024 to allow mini warehouse use in the M1 zoning district without the conditions.
Second.
Before we go any further on, are we going to take all the ordinances one at a time, or all of them under one category?
This is a CUP.
Okay.
Just one vote.
All righty. A motion has been made and second. Calling for question. Hear more. Calling for a vote. A roll call.
Okay, and this approval is with no conditions?
No condition.
Okay. Member Nelson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Cole?
Yes.
It has been passed. Where am I?
On to item 9B, which is conditional use permit application number 2-2024 Municipal Fleet Service Station. The City of Titusville Public Works Department is requesting a conditional use permit to replace the existing municipal fleet service station with new facilities, including a canopy pumps at our facility on Singleton Avenue. The CUP is required for additional storage greater than 5 gallons or use of regulated substance, gasoline, in the area of critical concern. The subject property is located northeast corner section of Garden Street and Singleton and within the area of critical concern. The subject property contains approximately 16.54 acres and is currently developed as a municipal water production facility, garage, and fleet service station. The future land use designation on the property is public, semi-public, and properly is zoned public. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this as presented 7-0. Staff recommends that City Council approve conditional use permit application number 2-2024 for storage of the use of regulated substance in the area of critical concern. And Eddie and Kevin are here to answer questions that you may have on this CUP.
Staff, anything that you can give us to enlighten us that we don't know and haven't read?
Sure. I'll just add that this is an improvement in that it's going down from 2 tanks to 1, and that the old tanks are getting older, and so this is a replacement that would help prevent future spills. For your comparison, the existing conditions are shown on page 263, where you can see the driveway off of Singleton Avenue and the 2 tanks. And then on page 265 is the proposed with the canopy. Thank you.
All right. Members? Member Stover?
Yep, just to clarify, this is needing a CUP because it's in the area of critical concern. Is that the reason?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Call for cards? No cards? We can vote. We still have 3, right? We still have 3.
Well, if we're going to vote, I would wait for.
But do we have to have a super majority?
Can I say yes?
I need a motion for item B.
Move to approve the conditional use permit application number 2-2024 for the storage and use of regulated substance in the area critical concern to permit an above-ground fuel storage tank as described in the application.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. And calling for questions, hearing none, questions have been answered and asked. Roll call vote?
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Cole?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
On to item 10A, which is the small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, SSA application number 3-2024, Lieberman multifamily. The city attorney will read the ordinances for the record.
Ordinance number 10, 2024, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances by amending ordinance number 60, 1988, which adopted the comprehensive plan of the City of Titusville by amending the future land use map by changing the land use designation on approximately 9.21 plus minus acres of property located east of South Street, State Road 405, and across from Swan Lake Drive, having Brevard County parcel ID numbers 22, 35, 08, 00, 2, and 22, 35, 08, 00, 257, from the conservation, low-density residential, and high-density residential future land use designations to the conservation and high-density residential future land use designations, and providing for an effective date. Ordinance number 11, 2024. An ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending ordinance number 5, 1993 of the City of Titusville by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference by changing the open space and recreation OR, general use GU, and multifamily high-density residential R3 zoning districts to the open space and recreation OR and multifamily high-density residential R3 zoning districts on approximately 9.21 plus/minus acres of property located east of South Street, 405, and across from Swan Lake Drive, having Brevard County parcel ID numbers 22, 35, 08002, and 22, 35, 0800257, providing for an effective date.
The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the land use change as presented 5-2. One member was in opposition because there was too many items left out or not addressed. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the rezone as presented 6-1. And this is your first reading. Your public hearing is scheduled for the regular City Council meeting on 23 April at 6:30. Mr. Glendo is here to answer questions that you may have on the first reading of this SSA.
Member Nelson.
Eddie, I have questions. And I don't know if I should ask you or ask Bruce sitting back there. Before, it seems like the way the property was laid out, there was like these three fingers, right? And I think our concern, if I recall right, was the amount of wetland that we were destroying. And I think the staff recommended like 3 acres come out of wetlands and be used for the project to make it more contiguous. Contiguous. I feel like I'm saying Winnie the Pooh. So I was trying to figure out in my mind, I understand that there's a wetland delineation, that the area was ground truth, so we have new lines. So what does it look like now?
Sure, I have an exhibit to share, and I've got a copy for
Oh,
the
would
record as
that
well.
help? Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, this is an exhibit that was provided by the applicant. And what this is intended to show is the changes, the net changes in, on the subject property. Like you mentioned, Member Nelson, the previous request, which was SSA number 1, 2023, and heard in November of last year, was intended to create a larger development area along
Yeah.
South Street, excuse me, State Road 405, in order to create one residential development. The applicant has provided a wetland survey that shows where the wetland boundaries are, and the city's comprehensive plan states that when we're provided more information or accurate information about where the boundaries of wetlands are, that the city will accurately reflect that in our comprehensive plan future land use map by changing the boundaries of the conservation future land use designation to match those. So the applicant's request in this case is not to fill in the gaps where there are currently wetlands, but only to adjust the boundaries correct with the wetland delineation.
So the areas in green are wetlands, and those are going to be changed to conservation.
That's correct. The areas shown in green are currently in the R3 zoning, so they're shown as uplands on our future land use map, and the request is to change those areas shown in green to conservation. The areas in red are areas that are currently in the conservation, so they're shown on our map as wetlands, but they're actually uplands. And so those are the areas that they are requesting to change to the R3 zoning and the high-density residential. And then the area to the north, yellow, is in our low-density residential, and all of it is wetlands. And so they're proposing to convert all of that to conservation future land use.
Okay, so I'm assuming at some point I have an area of upland on the northeast as you come around that corner. And so I've got that, and it looks like there's a gap between that and the uplands they're shown. Are we talking about taking some of that and make it, basically destroying that wetland to connect them?
No, so that's what was being requested in the previous application that was denied, SSA, what did I say? SSA 1, 2023, and council denied that request. So the request is to just amend the boundaries to match the wetland line, which would create 2 pockets of upland or development area. That would be the areas labeled Upland 1 and Upland 3. That would be your first development area, and then a little further to the north, the area labeled Upland 2. So you would have 2 contiguous pockets of R3 zoning.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Ms. Strobel.
Yes. Okay, so looking at this new map that you just gave us, so it looks like within this piece of property, there's a mix of different land uses and zoning. So we have OR, GU, we have high density, low density, all mixed in here. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I think typically I'm used to seeing like the maps that you guys do side by side, so I can get like a better visual, but I feel like that's hard to do because there is so many different categories, I think, on this one piece of property. So I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like we're just kind of switching out. Like some property is already zoned for housing or residential, and then we're going to say, hey, we're going to keep it open space and general use. And then some is zoned OR, we're going to say we're going to do high density on that now. Is that kind of what's happening based on the wetland lines?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And
Okay.
net, there's a gain in the conservation land use.
Okay. Is there anything that makes us feel assured that the rest of this OR, because there is a lot of, that this will stay OR? The rest of the piece of property here?
So an applicant could request change to the future land use map in the future. In the previous request, what was different is that the applicant had proposed to impact wetlands. And so in order to mitigate those wetlands, they had proposed a conservation easement over the remaining portions of the wetlands on site. In this case, the applicant is not proposing any impacts to the wetlands, and so there's no need to require a conservation easement taking the development rights away from the remaining portion of the property.
Okay, and then my other question, in terms of the residential pieces, it looks like prior there was some low density, and now does it look like, there will only be high density within this proposed plan?
That's correct. So if you look at the future land use map on page 356, that is the location of the property and our current boundaries of our future land use map. You'll see the
Okay.
gray at the north part of the property, that's our low-density residential. And then the kind of fingers of high-density residential are the golden color. If you compare that to the next map on page 359, page 359 shows what the intended outcome of this request would be. So if approved, this is what our future land use map would look like, and it only includes 2 future land use designations, the high-density residential along State Road 405 and conservation.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Any cards?
We have the applicant, Bruce Moig, and then Stan Johnston.
Good evening, members of the council. Bruce Moy with MBV Engineering, representing the applicant. Glad you guys have a great memory and this project looks familiar. Obviously, we were asking a lot more in the original request, and this one is basically housekeeping. Before we were asking for you guys to do something that you weren't even sure if the code allowed us to do it. I remember Councilman Cole was like, I don't even think the code says it. So now we're doing what the code requires us to do. So we're fixing what was incorrect. So it's really more of a correction. We're not asking for anything. We just want to comply with your code, make the correction, make the uplands, make the wetlands designated as they should be, and make the uplands designated as they should be. So I hope it's that simple. Thank you.
All right.
Stan Johnston?
Anyone else? Oh, that's 10.
Stan Johnston, professional engineer. I'm somewhat familiar with this area, and it was about 1965 or so forth. It was the four-laning of 405 was designed by FDOT, considering drainage and a lot of things. So I do not see a problem with this particular project. Since this may be somewhat quasi-judicial, I don't think it's quite, I don't know.
Tonight's first reading.
That means it's not quasi-judicial. What I should
Tonight
say
is
is
not
that
a
I know,
quasi-judicial meeting.
I have talked with these fellows, and they seem to be gentlemen. They're good workers. Moya has done a lot of good work, just like Honeycutt's done a lot of good work. So I expect you're going to get a good product, and that's good to know, because there are some engineers that you don't really want them to do some things around here. So I have no problems with this, and as you know, there's times I say that I do have problems. So thank you very much, and I wish this project the best, and the expansion and use of State Road 405. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the first reading. So from this, we just move forward. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, there's no old business. We're on to new business, which is item 12A, which is reallocation of ARPA funds for stormwater projects. Various city projects have ARPA funds available to be reallocated due to savings within the project, timing of the project completion, and priority use of ARPA funds. The proposed budget amendment and reallocation allows for the completion of 3 additional baffle boxes for water quality benefits. Staff is requesting the reallocation of American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds in the amount of $506,737 for various projects to the ARPA Riverfront Center, and additionally approve the associated budget amendments. Kevin's here to answer any questions that you may have on this item.
And I think I asked the question the last time, and you may know this, is that, what is our obligated time and what is our expenditure time?
It has to all be allocated by 2026.
Right. Okay. And, okay, got it. Thank you. Member Nelson.
Okay. Just an idea, guys. Don't shoot me. But in looking at it, we had allocated $89,000, $90,000 to school enrichment. And I'm happy with the projects, our infrastructure projects. I would like us to consider maybe taking 10,000 of that and allowing the Boys and Girls Club to use it as a summer program to teach swimming. They have an agreement with the YMCA to teach kids $5 a kid. Transportation is an issue. Transportation is really the big issue. So I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, I hate not living in Florida and not having kids know how to swim.
Just as a reminder, we had an application process and a period of time for grant applications that that's expired. So we would have to probably reopen that. and allow
Okay.
other agencies to compete if you would like to do that. Terry's still trying to spend COVID money.
Okay. Just, that was an absolute thought.
Yeah, because as you remember,
Because we were,
you
well-
remember the agencies came before council, gave a presentation,
right.
and then we awarded grants to
Right.
those agencies.
My thought is we awarded grants, and then some of those people did not use those grants.
Right,
and
that's what
came
this
back-
reallocation agenda item is doing.
Right. But then we didn't turn around and re-advertise that money.
We have not,
Right.
we have not asked for input to redo the grant process.
Okay, so I think that's what I'm asking, is that maybe we consider that. No, sorry.
Member Stoll.
Yep. I feel I would be open to that too, especially since I feel like we have been having, I think, a little bit trouble spending our COVID money. Like, how, if there are certain needs, and I think we all know that there are needs in our community, my concern that I have is I don't know how we're allowed to spend the money exactly by the rules of it. And I think that's where I think you're coming up with a great idea. Are we allowed to do that with the money? I feel like we're going to have some issues regarding homelessness, especially now with this new bill coming. Could that be something that could be, I don't know enough about the rules regarding the money.
And as you remember the process, we had an independent agency once the grants were brought before council.
Right.
We had that reviewed by an independent auditor to make sure that it met the criteria of ARPA funds.
I guess I look at it and I go, I forgot how much North River Charity turned back. And then we have the school enrichment program, and they're turning back 90,000. And I understand we need infrastructure. God knows we need infrastructure. But I hate to take the money that was sort of pigeonholed for people and turn it into
So
projects.
if I could make a recommendation, we have mid-year coming up
Yeah.
in May.
Okay.
Our mid-year budget adjustments. That may be a more appropriate use of something like that, using general fund dollars to fund, and council could request that be a budget request during mid-year. Because I really don't want to tangle up ARPA money with, there's really restrictions placed on it.
Okay.
And mid-year's coming up in, another 3 or 4 weeks. So perhaps council, if you would like to do the swimming program, you could request some money be provided.
Perhaps that, and then maybe, I don't know what kind of project, because Sarah's right. Homelessness is a problem here.
I think there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot coming down
Yeah.
from that, honestly.
So I appreciate that suggestion. I think that's a good idea. Okay.
So, excuse me, are you saying she needs to submit?
Hold on, Jim. Member Stoll.
Yeah, and then just going back to the original item, I'm in favor of the baffle boxes. My only request would just be, as we're having so many, just making sure that we have the resources to maintain them and keep up with them.
We do.
My only question was that, are you saying that Member Nelson needs to submit a request?
No, sir. What happens, we'll bring our mid-year, staff will bring our mid-year requests to city council as part of the mid-year adjustments.
Okay.
And during that time, if council has if you want to change any of those, add anything, take anything out, that's your opportunity to do so.
And what I hear is that, when we started this process, we had to meet certain criteria, and everything was set up basically and awarded on that criteria. And we are still trying to stay within that criteria, but shifting it from the west to the north side, so to speak. And that's that.
I think it's more towards the east, but it's definitely, sorry.
I got you. All right. All right, with that, we have 12A. I need a motion to move forward.
You can have a motion. Move to approve the reallocation of American Rescue Plan. Did you want to do it?
No, I was talking to Sir.
Oh. Act funds in an amount of $506,737,000 for various projects to the ARPA Riverfront Center. Wait a minute, by orientation?
It's bioretention. It was misspelled.
Bioretention.
What is that?
I was like, wait a minute. And the associated budget amendment.
Second.
Motion has been made and second. Call for questions. Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
On to item 12B, which is work order number 1, Riverfront Center water quality improvements. On 9 May 2023, City Council approved the award of the contract to SDC Services in Titusville, Florida for the construction of various stormwater improvements in the amount not to exceed $500,000. The city has received grants from FDEP and Save the Indian River Lagoon to construct water quality improvements in the Riverfront Center. Additionally, to complete the project, the city is reallocating ARPA funds, which you just did, from other projects due to their completion and anticipated time of completion. It's recommended that City Council approve work order number 1 to the contract for annual stormwater piping installation in the amount of $888,145 to SDC Services for the installation of 3 additional baffle boxes and the associated work order. Additionally, authorize the mayor to execute this work order. Kevin's here to answer any questions that you may have on this project.
I see none at this particular time. And with that, I need, with no question, I need a motion to approve. No.
I guess you gotta ask.
I think you guys are getting
Any
slap
cards? I have an
happy.
officer sitting up here.
Okay.
You guys are slap happy tonight.
I need a motion to approve the work order 1.
Move to approve work order 1 to contract CN23B019TB annual stormwater and piping installation in the amount of $888,145 to SDV Services for the installation of 3 baffle boxes, and authorizing the mayor to execute the work order.
Second.
And motion has been made and seconded, calling for questions. Hearing none, calling for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Next.
On to item 12C, which is City Council direction on Wellfield Reservation. At the January 11th, 2005 City Council meeting, they took the following action after a presentation on concurrency management. Member Engelman moved to approve the entire report with staff's recommendation and impose a 90% limitation on the use of water resources. Member Tolley seconded the motion, and Mayor Swank requested clarification of the motion. Clarification included that there would be a 10% reserve based on the average daily use of 6 million gallons. The motion held and carried unanimously. No code action has been found to implement this direction provided by Council's concurrency review forms to hold a 10% reservation of water capacity. Now, with the addition of Area 4 Wellfield to provide additional water supply allocation, staff is requesting direction to continue this practice on concurrency reviews or not. As of February 2024, the city's current use of the Wellfield CUP to include current development reservation rests at 84%. It's recommended that City Council provide direction on the continuation of this 10% Wellfield reservation for concurrency review. Now, back in 2005, we only had 2 and 3 that was working. We now draw the majority of our water from Area 4. 2 and 3 are arrested right now. So we don't have a water issue, and I think what the council was doing back then was to try to place some additional limits on ourselves to help preserve Area 2 and 3. But the conditions have changed now, since Area 4 is the major source of our water. And we also buy COCO water because we're required, and we run that for the south side. So Kevin can answer any further questions that you may have, but that's the genesis of what happened and why.
Member Cole.
Yes, my question would be with the increased population and the growth that we have here in the city, are there any pros and cons to implementing or not implementing this, Kevin? I mean, what is your, I mean, you're the expert, that 10%, you know, I always like to have a little bit extra in the bank somewhere, but maybe this is not a wise thing to do at this time. I'm listening for your expert advice.
Part of the question is, what do we do when we hit 10%? Because we're at 6% from that point now. So we get DEP reservations fairly often for subdivisions, and that's eating into the remaining capacity. And our concurrency form is set up with that 10%. So there will be a point that when we hit the 10% reserve, that for all practical purposes, we will not be issuing development permits for allocating water supplies. So the difference is that's a self-imposed, whereas we actually are permitted to take another 0.6 million gallons of water out of the well field. So that's really what we're asking about, is how to handle that reserve capacity. We had an item earlier today where we're starting to look to expand our capacity in the well field. The projection for St. John's is going to push us about 6.25 in 2040. So we still have time, and right now at the 6% difference, that's 1,400 homes that can still be allocated before we hit that current reserve. But the big thing is, do we continue that reserve hold that wasn't codified in concurrency as a standard that will stop the allocation of water permits? Or do we change it? Do we modify it? Does the council want to see some reporting back as we get closer to that point? That's really what we're trying to settle on. And the reserve is only impacting only on the well fields. The water plant itself, capacity is 16 million gallons. There's really it has nearly 40,000 homes left that it could handle. So it's really on the well field capacity.
Okay. Member Stokel.
Yep. I mean, from what I'm hearing, I kind of would like to know when we're getting close to that 10%, just because I feel like that's, as we are growing, even if it's not necessarily true, I hear a lot of citizens saying, are we going to be able to take care of all these residents moving forward? We have water issues, we have infrastructure issues. And so as a council member, like, I didn't even know this number until it's getting brought before us now. I would like to just, and I don't know what that looks like exactly, but I would like to be aware of that number. So when we are talking to citizens, we can say, actually, this is what the number is. This is how close we're getting. Maybe we are getting close and there's a pause right now. I think I would just like to be more aware and knowing what we can and can't do.
Yeah. What we can do is there is a code allowance for a water supply allocation permit from the city. It's set up in such a way that right now it's considered first come, first serve, and the staff had interpreted that within our department that didn't require the council to approve the allocation of a dedicated permit. You would have seen one in 2016. It was on a development that had certain financing attached to it that required it. Otherwise, you haven't seen one. That would come back to you with any development above 10,000 gallons per day. So I believe that's roughly 50 homes. They would be allocated a permit for 1 year to allocate water from our supply. And at that time, we could update you on where we stand as far as the capacity of the well fields. Again, we can give you the capacity of the water plant, but the water plant's going to run, has a lot of room left. But that's what we looked at as an opportunity to come back, bring back to council the item where it is council approving an endorsement of a supply allocation permit for 1 year. The other side of that to help staff is that also allows us, where now DEP permits run for 3 years. That would mean that development has to move forward in 1 year, or we can revoke their DEP permitting.
So what happens if there is a 10% reserve in place? Are you guys constantly measuring? So to get this 84% number, is that measured every time we approve a new development or an application comes in? How does that work?
They do, every development does preliminary concurrency through the planning department. So on that form, we fill out the water side and the sewer side, and that this is the hold on the preliminary review to ensure there's capacity to serve.
In other words, it makes a reservation for that water and sewer.
Okay. So if there was a reserve in place, it would stop at the 90%, and if there isn't a reserve in place, we would get those applications, and then as part of that report, it would show the concurrency rate on that application for us to say, hey, we might be at 95% now.
Yeah, we certainly can put that as part of it. That'd be a simple, we review this on a constant basis. Every month, our water plant produces what we use, and we update a spreadsheet that we keep for each of the plants, the well fields, so that we know beyond the development asking, we know where we are in actual usage, plus what's being reserved by development.
Okay. I think my biggest concern is I just want to make sure that we're making sure for our current residents, we're providing good, clean water as the highest priority before. I just don't want to compromise that. I think that's my biggest concern.
All right. Question?
Yeah, well, I was just going to
So-
say, Member Stokoe, I totally agree with what she said, but if you could turn that into a motion, because I think that makes a lot of
Now,
sense.
we're looking for just direction from the staff, to the staff.
Yeah, we need to get a motion that they can withdraw that 10% with the contingencies that Member Stokoe mentioned.
I think that's the direction is, and so during the process, when we do get new development applications, if those numbers could be just given as part of the report. I know that's probably under Brad more so, just so we're aware. I think the biggest thing that we don't need necessarily the 10% reserve, but we want to be in the know of what that number is.
Do you need a motion?
Or is that?
That sounded good to me.
Yeah, I mean, she
Okay.
said, that's why I said,
Great.
all they're looking for is direction, then yes. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Well, let me ask you, previously there was a motion by council to impose the 10%. So is council's direction now not to do the 10% reservation?
Yeah, that's what.
Then I would do that by motion
Yeah,
if
I
the
would do that by
previous,
I think what Sarah said is a motion.
so I would have that
Well, the
as,
motion has been made by Member Stokoe,
Second.
second by Member Nelson. Any questions? Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Right. You received the direction.
We are to petitions and requests, and I think Officer Jackson would like to address council.
But I appreciate that because Herm was going to tell me, make sure I get the cards read.
Yes, sir. Mayor, before we get to mayor and council reports, with the mayor's absence, under his report, he does have a request of city council. And his request is that city council authorize a presentation of a proclamation to proclaim 18 through 24 May as National Safe Boating Week. And he would like that presentation to be made at the 14 May 2024 City Council meeting.
Right, yeah. All right. Thank you. Did everyone understand what the city manager said? It's looking for a proclamation, and I need to
Have a
ask
motion?
all of you, make a motion on it.
Okay. Move to authorize the mayor to present a proclamation declaring May 18th to 24th National Safe Boating Week on May 14th.
Call for a second.
Second?
Call for question. Hear none? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
So just in addition to that, Lieutenant Commander retired Tom Abate, United States Coast Guard, has requested that any Coast Guardsmen that are attending that meeting wear a life jacket. So I don't.
Coast Guard approved life jackets, right? Yeah. Once it is when the first shot is fired.
Your next item, sir, is council reports.
The reports. Well, I went with the vice president of the Florida League of Cities, and I thought that was one of the best presentations. Yeah. It's very, very, very good. And it has, everything else has been going well as the best that it can be at this particular moment. That's true. Yeah. Your turn.
My turn?
Yes.
Okay. So I went to the fundraiser for.
You can't talk about that, because I was going to talk about it.
Okay. You talk about that.
No, go ahead. I'm just teasing.
I lost all the money. You got it. Yeah. I saw a report the other day from Stell Bailey about the river and how they thought there was E. coli in it and blah, blah, blah. No scientific backing for that, just sort of somebody's, it sort of upset me because I was like, you know, if you're going to make these accusations, have some scientific background, have some backup. But the same day, I received a text from Laura Lee Thompson. And I thought, contrast. I spent last Saturday morning water testing at 3 Indian River Lagoon sites. Hollover Canal, well, she said, Beacon 42, there are small patches of seagrass are expanding along the shoreline. A couple of schools of glass minnows played among the mangrove roots while mating manatees were nearby. Hollover Canal was full of life almost as much as when I fished there in the 1970s. Anglers were pulling in slot-sized spotted sea bass, sea trout, mangrove snappers, massive schools of glass minnows. Water was clear. She could see colored sponge, algae, other growth on the rocks, replacing the brown slime that has been the norm for such a very long time. So I look at this report, which was absolutely devoid of facts, and I listen to this, or read this, and I was like, you know, we've been working on our infrastructure for, 6, 8 years now. We've been working on cleaning up the river, and it hasn't been an easy job. And I think of where we were and where we are now. And I think we've done just a really great job.
Member Nelson, just to give you a report that we received last night at League of Cities from some of the environmentalists, is it says that the Indian River has came a long way.
Yeah.
Do we have more work to do?
Yep.
Absolutely, but it says that the work that is being, that has been done is working, and the river is getting better.
Yep.
Yeah. I was told, I won't call any names, I was told a couple of weeks ago, somebody was out boating and looked down and saw some shrimp and got hungry and caught them and took them home and cooked them, but I won't say who that was.
Can you tell your wife we're all coming over for dinner next weekend? It's just nice to know that we've gotten somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what we all set out to do, and it's happening. So, that's it. And I did lose Saturday night. Herman won, I lost.
Member Cole.
Well, as Member Nelson said, she and I attended the casino night fundraiser for the Emma Parish Theater, or the cultural complex that they're going to build. And as fundraisers go, it was a lot of fun. And my wife, unbeknownst to me, paid $100 for me to deal blackjack for 10 rounds. You know, it looks easy when they're doing it, but I'm here to tell you, it was not easy. But it was fun, and it's so heartening to see the kinds of things that the Emma Parish Theater has, that the things that they want to do. And, you know, I just see our city just moving and grooving, and it just makes me feel good to be a part of it.
Ms. Stoke?
Yep. Thanks to Member Nelson, too, for bringing up the lagoon initiatives, because I feel like since I've been on council, or since we've been on council, actually, since 2016, that's been our #1 priority every budget cycle. And it's like we would make these decisions even though we'd have pushback and citizens saying we're not doing enough or we're not doing anything. And we know it's not an overnight fix, but we make those decisions and we put forth the work, staff does, for applying for grants, doing what we can, doing our part essentially. So it's really nice to see some of that come to fruition. A couple things. One, make sure to check your emails from the Florida League of Cities. They did send out a survey for all council members to fill out regarding how they can better serve us. So being on the board at the state level, I know that they are going to look through those and really try to make some positive changes. So if you have ideas of things of how the state and what they can do to help us, just please take the time to fill that out. Regarding Form 6, there's still ongoing litigation. I think in our update last night, there's 43 cities that signed on to fight that Form 6 issue. And then he mentioned that there were several individual council members that joined it as well. He did say that there is a hearing scheduled later this month regarding it. And apparently there's two. I don't have my notes with me, but there's a state, one in the circuit court for the state, and then also a federal case regarding the Form 6. So more to come on that. But I think as of right now, we should have all received an email as well inviting us to go ahead and start that process for Form 6. I think that came yesterday. Mayor Blake of City of Cocoa is going to be sworn in as the new state president for Florida League of Cities in August at the annual conference. And so our Space Coast chapter is trying to encourage other council members that maybe don't go to the annual conference to try to attend this August. It will be down south this year, though, in Hollywood. It rotates each year, either Orlando or Hollywood, but this year it will be in Hollywood in August. So we're just trying to get as many from Space Coast to maybe be there to support him. Also, the prayer breakfast was really nice, the first annual one. So I'm looking forward to, I think, that happening again in the future. It was nice to be a part of that. I know several of us were there. And then lastly, House Bill 1365, I think regarding, which we've mentioned, the state passing that legislation regarding no camping in the area, public spaces for the homeless. We had a speaker yesterday at the meeting as well that she's really encouraging people to come together to try to come up with a solution. I feel like there's still things that need to be worked out. We had somebody sharing with us at our board meeting that there's somebody can sue essentially if you're seeing that happening. I wasn't really too sure on his example that he gave. If somebody from MIMS sees it, they can sue somebody for this, like the city of Melbourne. I was like, that seems a little odd. So I feel like there's still some things that maybe need to be ironed out a little bit regarding that. Regardless, if this is not going to be allowed, I do think it's important for the whole county to come together to see what can we do to help support them, and where is a place for them to go if they're not supposed to be there. Where can we send them, essentially? So that's something that I'm going to be thinking about and probably spending some time on trying to figure out and work with other peoples on. That's all I have.
All right. Well, it is getting close. We'll turn it over to you.
Yes, sir. I have no action items on my report. I do have several dates. A lot of stuff is coming up. The first one is the Titusville Earth Day celebration, which will also include the ribbon cutting for the bridge connector. And that's on Broad Street April 22nd between the hours of 11 and 2. And there's also the invite is in the packet itself. Joinerville and Beyond Public Engagement meeting is at the North Brevard Senior Center, April 29th between 4 and 7 p.m. The Student Awards Ceremony at Titusville High School Performing Arts Center is on 29 April at 6 p.m. Historic Preservation Board Annual Workshop is at the Harry T. Moore Center on May 16th at 6 to 8 p.m. Community Survey Strategic Plan Review is at City Hall, City Council Chambers on April 30th at 5 p.m. That will be a facilitated workshop. And already working on the Chain of Lakes 4th of July celebration, which is scheduled for July 4th at 7 to 10 p.m. Subject to your questions, that completes my report.
Any questions? Wanda, I hope I kept my promise.
Well, sir, I do have,
One more person.
Oh,
I do have
Richard,
one item for information, possible direction, if I might.
you may.
Yes, sir. As you may recall, plaintiff Maria Hilton had filed a voluntary dismissal of her lawsuit against the city of Titusville and Apollo Gardens. Given the fact that the suit involved a challenge under the comprehensive plan and that the plaintiff chose to do a voluntary dismissal in the case, Apollo Gardens has filed a motion seeking an order for reimbursement of their attorney's fees and costs in the case against the plaintiff in that lawsuit. Just to be clear, that's Apollo Gardens' motion. The city is not a part of that motion for fees. They are seeking to have an order from the judge for their attorney's fees in the case. I represented the city of Titusville. I'm salaried. We did not have outside counsel, so we didn't incur additional attorney's fees. However, if council is inclined and wants me to file a motion for reimbursement of fees, I would have to do so by Friday. So,
Well, my thoughts on it is that we appreciate Richard's so that he was just running defense. That never really came before us. And he was just running defense for us and to keep us protected and let us move on. Okay?
correct. So to be clear, if you do see in that case that there's more hearings in front of the judge on fees, that would be on Apollo Gardens motions. The city would not be involved in that. And I will not be filing a motion for attorney's fees since I have not received that direction from you.
Thank you. Anything else? Well, 8:15?
Great job.
Meeting adjourned.